Antonio Conte's time at Spurs is over. 16 months on from his appointment, the Italian was shown the door over the international break by Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy. It was a sacking that surprised nobody. In fact, what was surprising was how long he stayed in his post after his rant following the Southampton match. But where did it actually all go wrong? What's next for Conte? What's next for Spurs? On Football Reality, we're going to find out the truth behind why Antonio Conte left Tottenham. Let's rewind to what happened at Southampton. 3-1 up with 15 minutes to go, Spurs conceded twice and left St Mary's with only a point. But they didn't leave before Conte dropped a few bombshells in the post-match press conference. In a 5-minute rant, Conte said that his team was full of selfish players who don't have the fire that you need to have in your eyes to be successful, and the situation at the club was getting worse. When asked why this was happening, he responded, "Because they're used to it here. They're used to it. They don't play for something important. Tottenham's story is this. 20 years there's this owner and they've never won something. Why?" In many ways, this was Conte's way of saying that Spurs were being very, Spursy. After his outbursts, which will surely go down as one of the Premier League's most infamous press conferences, it seemed his position was untenable, and Daniel Levy sacked him 9 days later. So was it merely the rant that meant Conte got the boot? Some critics of him have said whether or not it was the whole story, it was still the right decision, as throwing the players, the ownership and the club under the bus that way is inexcusable. Other critics have pointed to other factors that suggest Conte is not the right man to take Spurs forward. Despite being fourth in the league at the time of his departure, the mood around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was negative after being dumped out of the FA Cup by Sheffield United and a rather limp exit from the Champions League against Milan. The squad is not strengthened under Conte, despite money being available, while without the goal scoring of Harry Kane, Tottenham would have no hope of reaching the top four, as many other players have gone missing for large parts of the campaign. It's the opinion of many fans and pundits alike that Conte was using his outburst to cover up his own failings over his time in North London. Of course, Spurs hired such a highly rated manager to win them a first trophy since 2008 and challenge for the Premier League title. As he achieved neither, it surely isn't unfair to call his tenure a failure. It is also rumoured that he lost the dressing room, and publicly criticising the players in such furious fashion is hardly likely to get them back on side. Conte has often had difficulties working with players that he deems not to be of an elite level, with a so-called winning mentality, and always demands plenty of cash to spend in the transfer window. Now, if you put Football Reality in charge of Barcelona, circa 2010, and give us tons of money to spend, there is a fair chance that even we could have taken that team to glory. Would that make us great managers? No. So if Antonio Conte can only win things with elite players and sack loads of cash to back him up, does that make him a great manager? Perhaps he's not quite the elite coach that many have painted him over the last few years. That said, is this forgettable period in Tottenham's history all down to the Italian? Spurs have made no secret of their desire to finish in the top four. But at least that's the opinion of the Spurs board, who apparently value the value of Champions League qualification over winning silverware. Tottenham fans and star players such as Kane may have different priorities. Many fans were recently left wondering what on earth the point of Champions League qualification is if they're only going to put in lackluster performances like the ones against Milan when they get there. Be that as it may, with Tottenham well on course to qualify for the Champions League again this time, does it make much sense to sack their manager now, as the run-in is about to begin, regardless of what he may have said in the press? Tottenham, and by Tottenham we mean Levy, has a history of doing this. In 2021, days before the EFL Cup final, Levy dismissed Jose Mourinho due to his protest against the club joining the European Super League. Sacking a manager who's won silverware everywhere he's been, when so close to achieving your main goal for the season, it's the Daniel Levy way. Actually, sacking managers itself is the Daniel Levy way. Since taking up his position in 2001, he has hired 11 permanent managers and sacked all of them, with the vast majority never having their contracts renewed. Mauricio Pochettino and Harry Redknapp being the exceptions. In his 22 years, Tottenham have won just one League Cup. They won 3 League Cups before he took over, as well as 2 league titles, 8 FA Cups, which was the record at the time of their last win, 2 UEFA Cups and a European Cup Winners' Cup. Has Levy's tendency to pull the trigger quickly resulted in the dust growing on the Spurs trophy cabinet? There seems to be a direct correlation with his tally of managers increasing to the tally of trophies stalling. Whether it was all down to their management abilities or not, Conte and Mourinho have won trophies at every single big club they've managed. Inter and Chelsea for both, Juventus for Conte, Porto, Real Madrid, Manchester United and Roma for Mourinho. There is just one exception for both of them, Tottenham Hotspur. It is hardly surprising then that Conte highlighted this lack of silverware under Levy in his press conference with Spurs, according to Conte, doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. This is something many disgruntled Spurs fans have said is long overdue, and thankfully someone has finally had the guts to say something. Levy apparently asked Conte to clarify his remarks, but with speculation abound that the relationship between the two was already on thin ice, owing to Conte's unhappiness with the club's transfer policy. It didn't come as a shock that they couldn't salvage their relationship. Also, in defense of Conte, it is important to remark that this has been an incredibly difficult season for him off the pitch. He's lost 3 of his close friends: Spurs fitness coach Gianpiero Ventroni, Sinisa Mihajlovic and Gianluca Vialli. He's also had to spend time recovering recently from gallbladder surgery, which took him away from the rigours of football management for longer than expected. A good period of form under assistant manager Cristian Stellini while Conte recovered only added fuel to the speculation that the players weren't playing for the manager. To bolster the pro-Spurs side of the debate, the 2022-23 season has been the season for sacking managers, as a record 13 gaffers have already lost their jobs since we kicked off in August, and more are under pressure. It may not be much of a defence of Tottenham, but at least they're not the only ones adding to the managerial merry-go-round. Now, what next for Tottenham? For now, Stellini will take caretaker charge until the end of the season, assisted by a former Spurs caretaker, Ryan Mason. As we discussed in a recent video, Harry Kane's future is once again up in the air, and the next permanent boss may well have to rebuild the squad without the club's record scorer. Julian Nagelsmann, recently out of the Bayern Munich job, has been mooted as their top target, while a return of Pochettino is also a possibility. 2 of the favourites, however, are those who were sacked even more recently than Conte. Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter only lasted 1 Premier League matchday longer than Conte, at Leicester and Chelsea, respectively. Yet they've already been talked up as ideal candidates in North London. And what next for Antonio? Conte went back to Italy after his time at Chelsea ended, and a repeat is on the cards. Not just that, he's expected to go back to a dressing room he's previously worked in, with the Italian national team, Inter and Juventus the front runners at the moment according to the bookmakers. The Paris Saint-Germain job is never too far away for coaches with a CV like Conte's, while Atletico Madrid could well be a left-field destination for him. After leaving in the manner he did, it could be some time before he's next seen on an English touchline. What do you guys think? Were Tottenham right to get rid of Conte? Who is to blame for Spurs' lack of success in recent years? Where will Conte go next, and who should be the next Spurs manager? Don't leave without hitting the comment section, and make sure you're subscribed to Football Reality.